Hi guys, it's Sabrina here. I'm going to do a reading for you. Now, this reading is coming from a couple days ago when I did this. I just got so busy that I had to basically write it and then leave. So this was written on September 4th, 2025 at 1:12 and 34 seconds. So that's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is uniquely the way that I read that. It's the time signature of the waltz, and I wrote next to it everything in the right order. So, but something about steps have to, it's like when you do like the first phase, it'll start coming in the first, then suddenly the second, and then when you get the second done, it'll be the third and the fourth. So something about that, and the importance of order. So this chart that we're looking at is Aquarius rising, which did show up in the cards. And what I noticed about this is it's about to square Mars. So the energy of intensity for a person, and maybe in a career sector. We'll see exactly what I wrote because I don't really remember everything. But one thing that I would notice is that Mars is right next to the part of fortune. So that shows me that there's, like, whatever this is has potential to be, sometimes a bad event can be a trajectory point. So not every time they square each other is it a bad thing. It might not feel great, might be, some sort of friction involved with it, but it does, to me, looking at this, for whatever reason, there is some sort of benefit from it. The South Node here in the 8th house, it can be, karma related. And this is so funny, this chart, the way it lines up with this reading, because I'll make this bigger for you in a second as soon as I show you the cards. But the asteroid that's currently inside the South Node, it's in the card literally. So interesting. So with that said, we got the Tower Mars. So yes, there's going to be a tower moment for somebody very intensely. Now, when we look at this card, you see Mars is up here, right? And the energy of this guy is running towards something. He's got his chainmail on. He's got his sword up in the air like he's in mid-run, and he's even got his shield trying to protect himself. So in the creative space, there's an intimidating figure of some sort. And it could be the Aquarian energy, the rising sign of the Aquarian energy. So, yes, so we got that. And then this is what I was talking about, the asteroids. So here is Mars, right? So we got Mars, right? So then right here, this is Pandora's box, right? Now, really quickly, let me change my screen so I can show you. This right here that's in the South Node is Pandora. Literally Pandora. Pandora's box is in the 8th house. So the legend of Pandora's box was she basically opens the box and all these plagues and terrible things come out, horrible creatures, death, all kinds of stuff. And she gets so horrified, mortified. I cannot believe I just released this into the world. And she's like, oh my God, it's just getting worse. And she just closes the chest. But what it means is that there's, don't be too quick to close hope inside, or, hope inside of the chaos in some kind of way. So then the energy of the Aquarian energy is the star. Now, Aquarius energy is also co-ruled by Uranus. So in this chart, that is in our 5th house near the moon. And so where those two are, I'm going to pay attention to where they are. That is a good supportive energy regardless. But the Aquarius energy rules over the collective and also the internet. So the first thing I think of is the things that we see on the internet. You know, the things that we see on the internet are the best of humanity and also the worst. And so this energy has potential to be very powerful and very moving. And it's also happening around us, the solar eclipse. So it's very interesting energy that we're about to witness, and we've already witnessed a few special events just recently. The energy of Aries, ruled by the Emperor. So then we take into account the third house, because that's what Mars rules over. Sorry, guys. That's what Mars rules over in the third house. And Mars. So we're going to be looking at these areas. Not to say the entire chart isn't important, but when you're doing a reading like this, you can't physically acknowledge every single thing. I will say Venus in the 7th house at 20 degrees, though, seems very important to me. So anything that is at 23 degrees, anything that is an 18 degrees, or those energies is going to be what I'm going to pay attention to. And also, because the vertex is here, this house is even more important. So, from the tower to the star, so we're paying attention to the 1st and the 10th house and the energies that have a lot to do with that. So, the 1st house is a lot to do with the self. How both people see you, think you to be, not always as you are to be. It's kind of like considered what we call the mask, but it's like on first glance when you meet somebody, what you automatically assume about somebody rather than, what's underneath. It's the cover basically of the book that we get to read. So the star to the tower, and then the 10th house is, what we do in the world, what we're known for, whatever it is that we do, how, and it's another way that we're seen or perceived. So so that's what I called it, from the tower to the star. So Mars, Aura, Aquarius, and Aries. So what I wrote down was things long stuck can suddenly be released. And that would make sense, because when these two experience such an intense friction that it, like, energy literally explodes. So if you've been feeling stuck, I can't get out of this, I feel like I'm in a rut, I don't really know how to do this or navigate this, it's showing you that it's going to come. And it also says that it will suddenly be released, and clarity comes at lightning speed, which is the energy of Uranus down here. Let me go ahead and just make it big for you guys. Sorry, I get to talking and forget to move it. Okay, so down here in the 5th house, the energy of enlightenment is tied highly to Uranus, because he rules over the heavens, or like the higher mind, even though like Pisces, has that kind of energy internally. This is kind of like an external type of event, and sometimes it can come through lovers, children, sudden creative explosions, something like that. And it could be an internet event that, especially because it's the career event. So, and the moon is there too, so this is emotionally liberating, insightful, something. And so what rules over this energy, Gemini, is Mercury in conjunction with the Sun. So sometimes when the energy of this could possibly be egoic communication, I would say if it's a career-based thing, make sure you're speaking from a higher place, not ego, but enlightenment. And also within that enlightenment, may be careful to believe that what you know to be the only thing that is true, right? So because of that explosive energy that I'm looking at. And then messages and opportunities, or even confrontations, are popping up faster than you can process. So, okay, that energy plus the communication and, the 3rd house with our sometimes it can be our neighbors, it can be our aunts, uncle, cousins, brothers, it can be in schools, a lower octave of school, or, something about our community. We have the Chiron symbol here, so, you know, if you're not feeling, you know, like if you feel like you're struggling with, for example, Chiron can point to, you know, with words there's a sensitivity. Sometimes it can be a speech impediment, sometimes it can be not having the words fast enough, or words are hurtful. Those type of energies, that could definitely be a thing. And then, you know, so that energy just made me think about that. And then it's also the energy of Venus, because Venus rules Libra and she's in our relationship sector. So how we feel about our close intimate relationships, maybe the words that are coming through, you know. I would say this would be a point to stay open to information rather than closed off thinking we know everything. This energy moves fast in the sensation of being accelerated with no brakes. It can feel destructive, but it's not meant to be experienced as cruel, but making space for authenticity. Now, authenticity is another word I would tie to Uranus. So this energy of Uranus entering the dating house while Venus is there could be, you know, intimate relationships, business partnerships, sometimes clients, sometimes rivalries, different things like that can, if you're looking for yourself in somebody or whatever it is, something about authentic, like owning yourself. And then 23, I had something I wanted to read about that really quick. So 23 equals 5, right? 2 plus 3 is 5, 5th house. This is what we're looking at, this energy here. There's something between intimacy and something new, something children, relationship, something. Something is starting for sure. Okay, so it talks about curiosity, adaptable, restlessness, and adventurous spirits. Now, restless energy is definitely Uranus. Uranus and Mercury both have, like, you know, my knees bounce, I gotta move, I can't, like, sit still. You know, I kind of do that a lot, you know. Fidget a lot would be what one could say. We're on the tism together, different spectrums. So, and then 2 represents the duality and balance and cooperation in relationships, and 3 symbolizes creativity, expression, and joy. So sometimes this energy here, creativity, you know, what we've learned is, you know, creativity. And I would say that Chiron being at the last degree is like we're healing something to do with the communication. Something specifically sticks out to me. Together, 23 often suggests creative communication, partnerships and exploration, or finding harmony in a changing environment. So definitely maybe work's changing. Maybe our community's changing in a way. It's a master vibration. Some numerologists see 23 as a fortune number, associating with charisma, success through communication, and a certain star quality. Look, star quality. All right. So we have somebody rising up like a phoenix from some type of ashes. You may feel that your inner world is under construction. Your beliefs are being challenged. Roles are being evaluated. So that is definitely here. Even if you don't like the information that you're receiving, stay open to it, because it's not that you don't know what you know. It means that you need to know more. And the more that you know from a well-rounded perspective, the better at whatever you're about to take on is going to be better for you. Roles are being evaluated. Unhealthy dynamics and self-doubt is collapsing. May feel a strong urge to fight for something or feel more anger at this time. It's destruction, fast change, but a promise of renewal. And then so that's definitely happening for this person, whoever this is. And you may identify as an Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising. You could have very sensitive points in that area. Specifically, I would say if your moon is there, you're going to feel that quite oofy. Also, if it's in the energy, depending on if you do Vedic or tropical, it's either going to be taking place in Libra or it's going to take place in Scorpio. So that energy for you. Now, the next sentence I wrote says healing of the body, mind, and spirit, which is wonderful because Jupiter is here in the 6th house. And when Jupiter goes through the 6th house, we might gain a little bit of weight. We might be a little bit, sensitive to stuff. So, Cancer is ruled by the moon, and emotions have a way to manipulate the tides. Jupiter going through there definitely helps us get healthy, but it can cause us to have a little bit of, and Jupiter doesn't cause this, but the symbol of it shows that we can have a potential to be retaining a lot of water. So if you're bloating, pay attention to what makes you bloat. Keep your eyes up and your chin up. Share your light, vision, and authentic self. Your creativity, mysticism, your quirks. It's medicine. So that would make me think, if Gemini is the 5th house, I would say this would be a comedian. Someone, let's try not to use our trauma as, comedy as a way to smother but you can't have a good joke without some real ass shit in it. Using for inspiration, but not avoidance, I guess. But yeah, I would say there's something about a comedian. So, but also as a comedian, sometimes, check the joke a few times with a bunch of people to make sure the joke is really funny, if that helps. So the new path is not for conformity, but living in your uniqueness. This may be a time to claim authority in your life, which authority sometimes comes smoothly. This time looks like a little bit surprising. Not in a control freak way, but becoming confident in your abilities in your domain. Now it says control freak like that because the energy of this is happening in this chart in Virgo in the 8th house. So that's a house of fear. That is a house of trauma. That is a house of things that we can't see coming. And so the South Node is showing you that there's a Pandora's box of karma coming your way. And it doesn't always, to me, based on this reading so far, it doesn't seem bad, but it might feel intense. Or even if it starts out bad, it ends great. But, as the person that experiences it, you would know what you're experiencing. But if it's a shit show, that's basically what it's talking about. Don't shrink, step forward. Don't shrink, step forward. Take initiative and own the stage. You are stepping into a role as a beacon or a leader. So, for whatever reason, I don't know exactly why I wrote this because I didn't leave myself a note. I wanted something to do with understanding the cards. I think it was the number of the cards adding up, and for whatever reason it seemed important that maybe someone who studies human design might need something. So 16 plus 8 plus 17 plus 4 equals 9, which is where we have a lot of this energy happening. 21, 21. You might see that on the clock also. So the gate is taming of the small. Now, taming of the small, I just heard little mind. So when a collective, I guess, could be seen as the small and the leadership can be seen as large. When the small feels too small, unseen, unheard, when a collective feels a certain kind of way, they start to rise up. And sometimes the way that we rise up isn't always admirable. Sometimes it's very destructive. Checks out, right? But there's something about this energy, this person, this experience that's stepping up, not to tame you and pacify you, but it's almost like an energy of when a collective feels heard, validated, and sometimes getting what they want or they needed. Located in the sacral center or the life force area, themes are focus, perseverance, and the power of small steps. Now, Pluto, this energy of Pluto definitely is the smallest planet. It's also known as the Phoenix rising planet. It's also known as the champion of the underdogs, you know, that kind of energy. So, polarity is pairing gate 52, which is stillness and concentration, which to me would be Saturn. All right, so the energy of 9 is concentrated on attention, but not by brute force or giant leaps. The quiet but relentless ability to channel energy into details, repetition, small refinements that eventually create massive outcomes. Think of it as the ant that moves mountains one grain of sand at a time. Okay, so a symbol in astrology for a mountain is still Saturn. So Saturn is in retrograde, moving back into the second house. Second house has a lot to do with literally what we put in our mouth. It has a lot to do with our self-esteem, how we earn our money, so many different things. But that's where Saturn is retrograding back into. And it seems like there's something about that energy would make me think someone's saving very steadily towards something, and then it moving back into the third house. There could be a chance to come back to an opportunity that we may have missed, maybe within studying or something to do with a local environment, or I would say it's something to do with school. But I definitely think the energy of Ceres being at 13 degrees, whatever we've been struggling with, those two together in that house, word related. Use your sacral energy to focus deeply on what really matters, even if it looks small to others. Now that would be a thing, comparing yourself, your achievements, everything to other people, and everybody has a good day and everybody has a bad day. I'm here trying to help you in a message here. I'm going to do my best. When I have this wisdom that comes through that I've studied, this is a moment where I get to give you an information, and hopefully it's helpful. But I have good days and I have bad days, and so that energy of you, make sure that no matter who it is that you're looking up to, or even if it's the future you, nothing you see is perfect. Not a person, not nothing. So kind of give yourself a little bit of grace. The gift of perseverance and sticking to something until it matures. Unscatter your energy by narrowing your attention, which means when all of that, whatever it is, whatever that cluster bomb of whatever happens, instead of allowing yourself to be bombarded and overwhelmed by everything, I would go back to where it talks about 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it's, what is the biggest thing that you're dealing with, and prioritize that, and everything else can just go fuck off for a minute until you're done dealing with it. The true power comes from consistency, not dramatic attention, okay? So Mars can kind of be a little shit show. Plus Pandora there, it could be a person, it could be a boss, an employee, it could be a situation at work, it could be something where you have to take over something. Don't get lost in the detail. See the bigger picture. So detail, Mercury has a tendency to obsess, especially when the sun can enlighten something and then you just like your mind burns through it. Great reading energy, right? You got lots of books to read. There you go. Own that energy. Read. Something about reading can be good. Maybe it's just to just relax, maybe. And also to see the bigger picture. Scattered energy leads to burnout. Perfectionism paralysis with progress. Focus is magic. Devotion to the small creates the extraordinary. Steady energy applied with intention, stamina, practice, creative energy, nurturing animals. Showing up until it manifests. And then I wrote brick by brick, which is, an energy of like, one at a time. But I also wrote brick by brick California because there's a venue and that made me think of it. So to me, I feel like, whoa. I feel like the energy of this, solar figures, authority figures. This is the house of the church. Mercury can be planes, the 9th house, rules over travel, far destination things. And Mars being here, could be an impulsive travel thing or something that we have to do, or, it doesn't look like, let me see. What is the sun talking to? The North Node and the sun. They're all right next to each other in a pile up. The North Node has a tendency for us to give us confidence in a place that we may have struggled with. Saturn being in your self-esteem house or your money house, it could have been very frustrating. You could have, Saturn sometimes means, could show up when someone's losing weight too, or restricting food, especially if Jupiter's been Jupiter's going to be in the 6th house. Saturn going back in there, like trying to help stabilize whatever food diet you may have found yourself on, because when Jupiter's there, equals of puffiness, so limiting something. You'll know what it is if you puff, right? And when you take something out, it makes you feel better. Now, the energy of Cancer, ruled by the moon, can have a tendency of weakness for sugar or Jupiter fatty fried things. They taste great, but they could be also upsetting you in some way. But I don't know. I feel like that's what I got today. I feel like that's what I got. So I hope something I said was helpful. And if you appreciate learning with me, follow me, like, comment, share. If you made it this far, you're a trooper. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. It means more than you know. And I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with me.